Greetings and salutations. Thank you for joining us. My name's Johnny Nato, and you are at Embrace Your Storm. And we've got another awesome episode for you as always. And before we get to that, though, thank you for creating accounts on the website. Don't forget to check out the other podcast that's on there called Soundbite. And you can also email me at hello@embraceyourstorm.com. And so today, I've got an exciting episode for you. I'm speaking with Frank Polangi, and he is a rock guitar artist. He's a soloist. And so, Frank, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks, man. What's going on?
Not too much. Everything's going pretty well over here. So, Frank, before we get too far into it, I did mention that you're a rock guitarist and stuff, but you are also into film. So, if you wouldn't mind telling the audience, maybe like, how did you get introduced into wanting to create all this crazy stuff?
When I was really young, there was a movie called The Crow that came out, and he played guitar and a couple scenes on a rooftop, and I was like, "That's really cool." I go, "I got to get me one of those. What is that?" And I love the music that was in that movie, anyways. And that movie started everything, man. Brandon Lee.
That's really funny. So, was it that movie that made you want to make films, but also play like guitar?
Yeah, I mean, I was influenced from Halloween and Terminator and a few other films, where I was like, I would love to make something like that someday. And then that kind of was just like, all right, we could, because I have made a Crow fan film, and I was like, well, we can start from there and see where it goes.
That's cool. And I was saying to you before, it's like it's so interesting to hear you be influenced by film to play a musical instrument. It's like that. You're the first person I've come across that where the story's been like that. So that's so cool to kind of hear how, people are affected by different things in different ways.
Yeah, it's funny, and I've never thought of that until you mentioned it, where somebody was influenced from a movie to pick up a guitar that wasn't necessarily like a music movie.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like I could see maybe if the movie was about some guitarist or whatever, but that wasn't the case with this. Like, which I guess again is why it's even more interesting because it just stuck out to you. Like that moment in time with that particular person. I guess, like the Crow was your James Hetfield or something. I get, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think The Crow, the movie Trick or Treat, which Ozzy and Gene Simmons had a cameo in from the 80s, that character played guitar and was a metal singer and stuff. And then that show on Netflix there where the guy plays Master of Puppets ends up getting
oh yeah,
killed.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, I'm sure that is maybe the same thing. There's probably a kid out there that watched that
That's
that's like,
true.
I have to play guitar now.
Yeah, that's true, dude. That's very
Yeah.
true. That's so interesting. So then did you end up like because we were talking before, and so did you end up getting into films first or music first? Like how did that unfold for you?
It was always movies first. I started off with like the VHS cameras.
I
And
remember
I,
those, dude. My mom had one
oh
of
yeah,
those.
they were huge too, but they had like an overdub button.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I took a CD player, like a boot box there, and I was like, all right, I am gonna press record and record over my audio, and I'll do the sound effects, and I'll do
Dude,
all the
that
voice
is so
stuff.
funny, man. That is so fun because I have to interject this because
Mm.
I thought I was a genius back in the day when I was like 12 or 13 or whatever, but what you did is just as hilarious. So like my mom had, that old VHS cam recorder thing, right?
Yep.
But this one was from the 80s. So on this one, it had like this, little styrofoam microphone that extended kind of out above the lens, right?
Oh.
That would get the audio. So what I did is I took a Walkman that had like the like really cheap like plastic headphones, right? And I busted off the ear things on each side of the headphones, and I took Scotch tape and I taped the headphones around the microphone, and then I took my Walkman and I put in like Beastie Boys Check Your Head, and I hit play, and then I recorded everyone at this skating park, doing all kinds of tricks and stuff. I thought I was a genius, but dude, you did like that very same thing. That's awesome.
Pretty much. I can picture that in my head. That's cool.
No, dude, totally. Like, yeah, like that is so awesome. Like, just to even tell you about like my uncle had like, and this had to be like the first like VHS camcorder because it had this separate. It basically had almost like a small VCR, you had to put the VCR, the VHS tape in that thing.
Oh,
It was like
wow.
this separate unit, so he had to put that on a strap around his shoulder, and then the camera was attached to that through a wire.
Yeah, yeah, I know what that is. Yep.
So that was like a wicked old school setup my uncle had, like the early 80s or whatever. But yeah, so like how did like what was your first kind of like film that you did as a like how old were you and like did you write up the screenplay and all kinds of stuff or did you just kind of hit record and be like yeah let's do this?
I reenacted the whole Crow movie myself in front of the camera, and I like fell down the stairs and flew out the window and that kind of
No kidding.
stuff.
No kidding.
I got my cousin to do Terminator 1, a couple scenes from that, and I think where he walks in and he steals the gun, he ends up um I can't remember something. The guy that was, I think it was the name. He was in a bunch of movies, in like 1,000 movies. This guy that was in that Terminator scene, but
I don't
yeah, it
remember
was that
Terminator
and
1 though.
Halloween.
Oh
Halloween,
yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Man. So did do you don't have any of those by any chance, do you? That'd be awesome if you did.
I do.
Oh
Some of
man.
them have been converted to digital files. We had a house fire like 2 years ago, so I lost a lot of stuff, but
That
I
sucks.
still have the majority of maybe a few of those, and then the ones that we made on they were like mini DVD discs.
Oh, I remember those.
Those are the ones we started doing for YouTube, which so I was like one of the um Godfather fan filmmakers because there was only like maybe 10, 15 of us when YouTube came out that were doing these fan films, and
That no kidding, that's pretty cool.
well, let's make these and upload them so people can watch them. So
Dude, you
that
were pretty young when that happened because you're 10 years younger than me. So
yeah,
like you're pretty like forward thinking or ahead of your like how did you even stumble into YouTube and what made you like that's interesting.
I don't remember, to be honest. I have no idea. I remember I had an editing program and I was like, we should do this. I can put in the music, edit it in the computer, so we can get our audio and we can do some sound effects and whatever. And it was still very basic, but it they're still on YouTube if you go like some of
Dude,
the
that's freaking
early
awesome.
ones. They're not that good, but
Well, no, but I mean that's pretty cool. Like I said, that's ahead of your time, man. Like that's pretty impressive.
yeah, I had watched there was a guy Blinky Productions and I watched his fan film of he had like everybody in it. He had Pinhead, Freddy, I think Leatherface and Michael in one fan film. I was like that looks good. Like I want to be inspired to make something like that looks good. So I was always for me I felt like I was behind the ball. So I was like, all right, let's keep making stuff. Maybe I get a better camera someday, and then it could actually look like this and feel, official.
So, okay, so while you're doing this stuff, were you practicing like an instrument at the same time?
Oh yeah, I'd come home from
Really?
school and play
That's
3 hours a
interesting.
day.
That's so interesting. So, like, what was your first guitar then?
It was a Jackson. Well, actually, it was an Ames acoustic guitar. And my mom was
Nice,
like, "Well, if you like that, we'll get you something else." And I bought in a black, of course, a black Jackson guitar.
nice. So, so then what were some of the bands that you got that you were into that made you want to start playing guitar?
It was Blink 182, Good Charlotte. It was like punk rock stuff, Green Day.
Okay.
I didn't really listen to that stuff a lot. Just some of the kids in school were like, "You got to learn, this style of music, and it's hip and whatever." And I was like, "All right." Yeah, I learned it. And I was like, this is all just power chords. And then
Yeah, exactly.
somebody came up to me and goes, "Try this." It was a burn CD of Enter Sandman, the Black Album, and then Ozzy's like Blizzard of Oz. I listened to that and I go, "This is guitar playing." I go, "I don't know what this is, man, but this is it right here. This is what you got to learn." So
Oh,
that's where
that's what
James
made you
Hetfield
like this thing.
Metallica came
Okay.
from.
That's pretty funny. So, would you say you lean towards metal playing now then?
Oh yeah, always. I've, strayed away from it a little bit, but not much.
You know what? I struggled with like I said, I'm a little bit older than you, but when I was getting older, I was like, you know, like I think I need to like round out my like guitar playing or whatever. Like, I can't just be a like metal guitarist or what. And like I
Yeah.
tried, I mean, I have, I can kind of play other stuff other than metal myself, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I'm a metal guitarist, man. I just need to like get over it. And like
Well,
and like
it's
just
good
kind
to
of
play
embrace that
other
and.
genres, because I teach guitar too, and you learn different techniques, and you take those techniques and you make them into metal.
Totally. Yeah, no,
So,
totally.
I
And
went to I got my rock guitar certification at Berkeley, and we played Clapton and we played Hendrix and stuff that, it's rock, it's not necessarily metal,
right.
but some of those techniques and stuff definitely helped me within the last couple of years kind of rethink how to play guitar in a way.
No, I get that. I mean, speaking of like rethinking of how to play guitar, what do you think of Tim Henson and how he plays?
Who's that?
Okay, you haven't heard. You gotta check out this guy. The band is called Polyphia. It's like Phol. No, it's like Poliphia.
Oh,
Polyphia.
okay.
His name is Tim Henson. He's not a metal guitar player, but I mean, other people are starting to play like he does, but I think this guy is like the originator of like, he's just
That
got this
style.
interesting technique. And like I said, I wouldn't call it metal, but it's like ridiculous technical playing.
Okay. Like
Yeah,
proggish sort of.
kind of, yeah. But he can, but yeah, with like interesting time signatures and stuff, but like he could have it sound a lot almost like an R&B song though sometimes, like just like a fat boom and bass with just kind of like an
Oh, okay.
R&B kind of drum beat, but he like shreds.
That's
You
cool.
know, it's interesting. Like I'm not really doing him any good service, but he definitely like I'm a little surprised you haven't heard of him. So
Yeah, I haven't yet. No, I could definitely check them out. Maybe I'll interview him someday.
yeah, no, he's so interesting. Like he's and another interesting guitar player is Plini. Are you familiar with him at all? It's like
Lenny.
Plinni or Plini.
Okay.
And he's from Australia, and he never had guitar lessons ever, but he's like this ridiculous guitar player. But because he never like took lessons or understood how notes like worked, he's got just another interesting approach to playing guitar.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Tosin Abasi?
No. Are these
Yeah,
all new
okay.
people?
What's that?
Are these all newbies?
Ish. I mean,
Okay.
Tosin's been around since the early 2000s at least.
Okay.
He strictly plays like eight-string guitars. He's ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
He's like a metal musician though. His band Animals as leaders. It's all like instrumental stuff, but they do like very interesting,
Okay.
time signatures and stuff like that too.
It's funny because I've always been into bands, but I'm not a guitarist guy. Like I don't talk about guitarists and like, oh, this guy's great and this guy was like a legend and all that. I'm more of like, yeah, I listen to like Metallica and then you talk about the way they play and I'll follow the bands I like, I'll follow everything that they've released
Yeah,
too. So
yeah,
and I kind of stick with a smaller group of stuff that has influenced me. But then like my radio show, there's a lot of newer bands coming up that I would have never heard, and so I'm starting to listen to their stuff a little bit more too. I haven't learned any of it on guitar, but it's um it's interesting because I was like, well, you got like a Slipknot style, and I instantly say these things, and he's like, dude, that's 100%. You know what I mean? That's our background.
yeah, yeah. No, that must be cool. Speaking of your radio show, like how long have you been doing that, and like where could people find you at that, and like how did you kind of get dive into that? Because honestly, that's like another kind of part of like people can get into music without like having to play an instrument.
Oh
There's like so
yeah.
many different things you can do, like kind of doing your own radio, DJ show is certainly one of them. So like how'd you kind of, get started with that?
Uh, there's a there's a network called Radio Wigwam. They're over in the UK, and I had won 2018 Artist of the Year award, and they sent me like this, almost like Emmy looking plaque thing,
That's
which
cool.
is awesome. And a couple years later, they just contacted me and they go, our rock DJ actually passed away, and we have an opening, and we think you'd be great for it because I was interviewing people for NYS Music here in New York, just video stuff.
Okay.
And he goes, I think you'd be great for it. He goes, it's once a week and yada yada. And so I was like, oh, so we just had the house fire, and literally, I was doing the Berkeley rock guitar stuff, but I had nothing to do. So I was like, why not? I go, I can still be involved and talk to people, and maybe I can start to interview people that I, know or aspire to, get better in my playing and whatever. And that's basically what I started. So it's on Radio Wigwam. It's Polangi's Studio of Rock. It's every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And about 2 years I've been doing that.
That's
And then
cool.
earlier, I don't know what day this is, folks, that you're going to be listening to it, but earlier today, currently, I hosted Ozzy's Boneyard on SiriusXM for the Ultimate Sinner show. So that was really fun.
That's freaking cool. So how'd you like fall into that?
Just blind luck, man.
No kidding.
Yeah, just shot in the dark, literally like the song. It was
So what
cool.
did you do? Did you email and being like, hey, do you need a DJ or whatever? Like,
I just, yeah, I emailed them. I actually did the show the way I would do it. And I just kind of emailed them that. And if they liked it, I figured, they would have me on. Of course, I would need to do it live and redo it. But
right.
um, I just approached it that way. Like, this is the gig. I'm going to do it as if this is the gig.
That's cool. So yeah, that's actually really cool and funny because like I've interviewed quite a few like kind of like interesting people I've been doing podcasts since 2009, and like people would be like, how'd you even get them to do an interview? And I'd be like, I emailed them.
I'd ask them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's all you
like
do.
sometimes it's that easy.
Yeah, it is sometimes. And they're like, well, some people too, you catch them on the right time. It's
Yeah,
like,
no,
well,
totally.
he never does interviews. Well,
Yeah, no,
maybe he was
totally.
bored that week.
So like, so are you hoping like you don't know if you have this permanent gig that right now, do you?
Oh, no, it's just a one-off guest thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But that's still freaking awesome though.
Yeah. I was like, this is like a bucket list thing. This is awesome. I don't know. I would love to come back. I don't know, even if it's once a year to do that and see what else is going on. But
That's pretty cool. So with like what kind of stuff do you play in your current show that you do?
anything from rock to metal, yeah, it ranges. And it could be like 70s to now.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
Some of them
cool.
are
Do you take
themed,
like call and like requests and stuff, or do you just set up the whole show?
Yeah, I just do it usually. Yeah, my show is pre-recorded, so I usually just sometimes I play a full record too, because nobody listens to a full record
I
top to
hear you. That's
bottom
a lost
anymore.
art.
And I'll do that once in a while because that's still how I listen to music. And yeah, it just depends. Every week is something different. Or I have interviews and I'll just play like two of their songs.
So with I had a question I was wanted to ask you, and of course I lost it. Oh, have you put out like anything recently, like for like musically? Like what is the
Yeah,
stuff you've released musically? Has it always been like metal stuff?
hard rock pretty much. There's some
Okay.
soundtrack stuff like I redid the Halloween movie theme, Escape from New York and Terminator, which goes back to my film background. The Halloween one has been used in a couple fan films out there, and
That's cool.
I have 5 EPs plus a couple side singles. So over a course from 2011 to now,
That's
that's
pretty
what
good.
I had out. And the last single was called Dynamite. Came out in October, and that was the first one we did the secondary FM rock charts. So I had all those years. I don't know if I can say it, but I just never done it. Let's say
Yeah.
for continuity's sake. So, I've been on internet radio. I have been on FM radio and local stations and stuff in other states, but this is different. This is trying to chart. So Curtain Call Records, I talked to them, and Most Added, we debuted at number 6 for the first week. And then there was like Greatest Gainers, which I think 10 out of 10. It was like me and Daughtry's Artificial Song going back and forth. It's not the mainstream FM charts. There's like a secondary chart,
Okay.
which I was like, I don't care. That's good enough for me.
I hear you,
That
dude.
sort of thing.
I hear
Um,
you.
so we lasted like 5 weeks on that, and I was just like, I just need something like that for credit finally for my songs, and just to get them out there a little bit more and see. Because he goes, this was kind of a gamble. He goes, because these songs, your song is not mixed like other songs of today, and it's not really in the same, I guess, metal genre, because there's no it doesn't sound like a pop song basically, because there's so many rock bands that are going like pop metal and stuff, and then they're
Mm.
putting those dubstep beats in the verses, and I don't do any of that. So he's like, it's kind of like a sink or swim thing. So frankly, it worked out.
That's cool. Have you ever heard of the band Kilgore Smudge, or just they go by well, not a band anymore, but they went by Kilgore by the end.
Oh, okay.
But you never heard of them.
No.
Oh, okay, because I haven't listened to any of your stuff yet, but I'm having a feeling it falls under kind of like the same genre as this band. And this band, Kilgore Smudge, is like that's like my favorite band in the world, and I would calling them a heavy metal band is it's not a stretch. I mean, they're a heavy metal band, but it's like they toured before they broke up. They opened up for Fear Factory and Fear Factory and Slayer
Oh
tour.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
like they didn't really belong on the bill. But like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
you know what I mean? But like they're
I've done that too. Yeah, I've opened acoustic for, I think, Power Man one time, if you
no
can imagine
kidding.
that.
That's funny. That's
But
funny. So you're a heavy metal dude, but you'll like play acoustic?
yeah, whatever works. Because originally a few of the gigs we had booked, and it was a band gig, but then all of a sudden I lost my drummer or something, and I go, I still got to play it. So what the heck am I gonna do? So I just
Right.
made it the heaviest acoustic set I could do.
That's funny. That's really funny. So,
So
a question I thought of asking is like, while you're making these films when you're kind of younger, 16, 18, 20, 24 or whatever, you're playing guitar and stuff, you're in bands and all that. What's kind of like the driving force that makes you keep going?
I was never completely satisfied, I think, and it was always where I haven't gotten here yet. I haven't reached it. I haven't reached it. I still haven't reached it in my mind of
Mm,
where I would either see my music or my films or anything like that. Like I love, like, I've acted as an extra in a few like theatrical films. I've been into some New York commercials and stuff. This year I was actually in a Super Bowl commercial for an insurance company
that's cool.
at the end, and that stuff's good. It's fine and all that, but you have more of an artistic vision for the other things. The Put it this way, like movies, I've made fan films for let's say 20 years. I made maybe a few little shorts of original stuff, but for me, after I guess 30 years, it's my first shot of original material.
Mm,
So I have to
mm.
start to get better. I have to start to work on my stuff. So it's and these movies, they there's no budget. You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, maybe the next one I'll have a budget, and we can, because budgets do matter. They enable you to do so much more. You figure locations, you got costumes and props, and
Yeah.
just the gas to be like, oh, I want to drive 2 hours away and film at this awesome location and stuff. But so hopefully it just pays for gas.
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
um,
you know what? Honestly, I ran a film festival for a few years, and I've done a lot of podcast interviews with filmmakers, and yeah, there's a lot of things like that that people maybe the average person doesn't take into consideration like all the work that goes into making a film. I've said this before, film people are a special kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like you got to be a special kind of crazy in order to like get a film made and produced and done.
You got to
Because
be driven. You got to be kind of fast. You have to be a little bit pushy in a nice way. And you, I'm a one man show a lot of times. So it's, some of the same friends that have been making fan films with me for like 20 years help me out. And, I don't really have a set crew. I don't really have people that, really, are crafted in lighting or that sort of thing.
yeah,
So I'm like, I know all of it because of all the experience that I've had. I'm like, I know I can get better at it and I know I can't do everything, but it is all up to me as of right now. So, I'm directing and I'm handling the script and I'm handling the lighting. I'm playing the character. I'm playing the killer in it. You're doing all this editing, the music, but it comes in handy because as I shoot it, I could say, you know what, in post, that will work or that doesn't work. Or I can shoot this and then go back, edit it, see how it is. And we could go back and shoot a pickup shot for that. Or so, it definitely helps because if you have somebody like an editor that's like, well, I'm just going to edit the footage together and it's based off the script. It is what it is, right? Where I edit as I go along and the movie changes. I
mm,
let it develop into whatever it wants to
that's
be.
interesting. So it's like you developed your own little process over the years. If you've been a one man show where like normally, yeah, you might have a guy do this for you or whatever, but it's like I'm doing all this myself, so I need to figure out what's the best workflow for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like sometimes you don't really even know how the movie is gonna end or turn out or thing what you wrote just changes. I've realized that you never get really stuck on a certain thing and have to make it work. It's like there's always something alternative or better, or it just doesn't
Mm.
work out that way.
Like you're saying if your original sort of thought doesn't work out, you're saying?
Yeah, because you might have a location go down. You might
Okay.
have an actor that's sick or backs out or just can't do it on the day because this is all based off our free time too.
Right.
And like right now, I'm a little bit of a crunch to get some of the filming done for the third movie, and I've got mostly everything, but time ticks.
I hear ya. You were saying before you do have some films kind of on various platforms, right?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, they're on Tubi and Troma TV. I think you can rent it on Amazon, and I think one of them's on Apple TV. Free.
Cool.
One of them's free on YouTube. Lost Chronicles is free on YouTube if you watch the whole movie.
Okay.
The second one, so they're anthology movies because that's the only way I could do it. So the first one has like 7 different stories in it because I'm like, well, I can film one day with this person and get everything done,
Oh,
use
that's
that as a
interesting.
story, yeah, move on and film with somebody else. And so that's how I did those 2 movies.
That's really cool. Again, you kind of used what people would think as a negative thing or a hindrance, and you kind of leveraged it and turned it into, a good thing. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, the only thing is now the studio wants full movies. They don't want to do the anthologies as much because it's like we tried them. He goes, I don't really know if they had worked because other people that were making movies for him tried it too. And
Yeah.
he's like, we like the one idea type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying to make this one into one movie, but what it is this character has these nightmares and stuff of him or his friends and stuff. So in a way, right, there is one storyline, but in a way, a nightmare can be anything. So I could
Totally.
have a little mini movie in that nightmare that has really nothing to do with the movie.
Dude,
You could,
you're totally right.
so
I like that idea. That's actually interesting.
yeah, I mean it's a little inspired by like maybe Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's a
I
way
thought you were gonna say you're gonna break up and just like, have like 7 or 8, like kind of just different nightmares in the sense of like a nightmare, right? But when you start saying, "Hey, a nightmare could be anything," and then I was like, "Oh, now I see where you're going." Like that's really interesting. So like
yeah,
you could be like 10 minutes into the movie and forget like sort of how it started or where you are, what's going on, but then like get sucked back in, like, oh yeah, that's right, we're here.
Yeah, like it's basically a cult of witches that are doing these experiments and tests and like curse stuff on me and supposedly a few other people too to gain power and live forever or whatever
Mm,
they're, whatever they want to do. So
mm,
they're causing me to suffer to have these nightmares and stuff. So some of them are like, some of them could be planted in my brain. Some of them like I have a friend character who he's my friend in real life, quote unquote, but in the nightmares he's trying to kill me.
mm,
So we
mm.
went to it was a TB center and I think like a mental institution place after that and was completely run down, abandoned. It looks like Walking Dead.
That's cool.
So we did a thing where he's chasing after me, trying to kill me for a nightmare in that location.
That's
So
freaking cool.
you could have a nightmare like that, and then the next nightmare could be, flashes of him as some creature, or the
Yeah,
sky's the limit. You know what I mean?
yeah. Or it could be you on the beach, like Nightmare on Elm Street, and then Freddy's glove came out like a shark.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually thinking of adding a scene of establishing the friendship, like what would happen before the movie. It's like we were friends before the movie, but then it ends with something like that where it's everything's nice, but at the end, he pulls out a knife or something, whatever.
That's cool. That's really. You know what? I'll throw. I was gonna save a conversation for maybe after the podcast, but I'll throw it in here now just to see like what you kind of think because I thought of this a few years ago, and I don't have the whatever it takes to execute this idea, but
Hmm.
hear this out. Take a 360 camera,
Yeah.
and you're gonna record a movie with that with that in mind, okay? Because what's going to happen is when you're recording the film with the 360 camera, you're obviously capturing everything all around. So the idea is while you have certain things going on in the movie in one part of the 360, have something else going on in the opposite direction. Because when the person's watching back the film in 360, they're only going to see the direction they're looking in when they're watching the film.
Yeah.
So you could be like, you could make people have to watch a film like 50 times to be like, what the hell did I just miss? Like, how did you get that knife? Where did that come from? Or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I need to like play this back and like look around and like, you know what I'm saying? Like that would be an interesting way to make people watch something like over and over again.
If you built a set, right, and say one side looked like Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's got the bedroom set and you have a nightmare going on, but like you said, exactly across the other side in the back of you could be a I don't know, a dinner set at a restaurant, and that could be another movie going on that way.
Dude, honestly, yeah. Well, I don't know how you'd mess with the only thing I don't know the pops into my head, I'm sure it would handle this, but like the audio, it maybe it only would play the audio when you're looking at that scene. You know what I'm saying?
You'd have to do isolated surround sound. So yeah, if you're panned center, you hear the first movie, and if you turn all the way
Dude, that would be
around,
sick.
the audio's in the back, right? And so you hear it through like the surround speakers of that scene in that movie. That would be wild. Some people probably couldn't watch it because they don't have surround, but
Yeah, yeah. But I figured that's an interesting concept though, just to like I said, because I was how do you get someone to watch a movie over and over again, like in a different way? Like not because they're just like that was a great movie, you know what I mean? Like the
yeah.
because it's like a game mechanic, like people design games with that in mind all the time. Like what are we gonna do to get someone to to do this thing over and over again?
Yeah. I think, well, one of the things too, like the film company mentioned, you turn a movie into a TV show too, because that's kind of what they do now. He goes, you have the main movie, but maybe shoot an extra hour or two, And then that's kind of like the quote unquote TV series version, but there's other scenes that aren't in the movie there.
Hmm.
So if they like the movie and they watch the TV show and maybe they learn more about one character that wasn't in the movie. You know what I mean? You take like a character that was in like in a scene and all of a sudden he has a whole episode, you know?
I hear you. Huh. Like, yeah, it's an interesting I also another interesting way too of like when you like when people if they like the movie and they want to, like you say, turn it into a TV show. Another interesting way that I've been telling like script writers anyways, like the way to get your script into someone's hand and you want them to make your film, it's not that very thing anymore. What you need to do is write your script into a book and you get people to read your book and your story, and then
Exactly.
that's what turns it into a film. Because if you look on Netflix now, every other show is like, oh, based off the book, this series based off that book, based off this
Yep.
book. It's like everything's found through a book now. It's like, does anyone even like get scripts anymore? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a good idea.
because you could also make like podcasts and episodic like audio versions of your story. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things you can do these days. You know what I mean? Like, but with like, there's so many different mediums to get a story out there. It doesn't need to be just film. You know?
Yeah, like some movies are based off of songs,
Exactly.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Like. I don't know, it's pretty. It's cool that the company gives you like ideas, and at least they give you feedback of like, oh, hey, we think the public's kind of like looking for something like this or whatever.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things too that you can do and you can't do sort of because these streaming platforms flag a lot of stuff
Yeah.
and yeah, so this one they're finally like co-producing it and yeah, like you said they give you advice and things to stay away from and but technically sound, the technical requirements like the first two I honestly just made them the way I usually do and I'm like, well, here's the movie and everything's mixed and done, but these odd technical requirements that I'm like, okay, like
Yeah,
I
they
actually
probably want certain bit rates and they want the coloring done a certain way, or they want
yeah, and I go I can't do that because I just molded everything into one file and so I have to do it on this movie while it's in pieces.
So do you mostly do horror stuff when you do films?
Yeah, we've done I mean I've done like a Superman kind of fan film or Batman. So superhero stuff, kind of Punisher, kind of
Okay.
dark kind of stuff too
How
would
many
be
films have
nice.
you done?
I don't know. We've made you guys. I mean, they're not on YouTube, but probably 1,000
Jeez,
on YouTube. I think we've made probably at least 100 fan films between me
no
and my friend.
kidding. That's insane. And you weren't part of all of those?
Yeah,
You
I
played
think I'm
some
in
part
all of
of like the
them. Yeah.
medium. That's freaking insane.
Yep. Yeah, because he had gone off and made a few on his own. My friend Aaron Lambert, and he just released a Batman fan film, and then I'll like either help him out with it, or maybe I'll have a role, or maybe I won't. But between the both of us, yeah, we've done a lot of
Jeez, that
fan
is
films.
insane. So like have you done any recently, any fan films or
My last one I think was like I had done like what if there was an extra scene or something happened in every original Halloween film. So
huh?
they're like 5, 6 minutes a piece of kind of like a what if type thing. I did that for every single Halloween up to Resurrection, and then we did a Friday 13th Part 5, kind of a short sequel ish part,
That's
and
cool.
we had shot some John Connor stuff, some Terminator stuff, and I only made a trailer out of it. And there might be one scene that I do as like a kind of like an actor's reel or something I could throw out there. I had the scar on my face and all that, which is cool. But no, I had a Jeepers Creepers idea because I'm not sure if anybody has done Jeepers Creepers, and I had this mold from Canada. This guy made me, and it looks a lot like the movie. And I was like, I would love to do like a short Jeepers Creepers fan film.
That's cool.
But
So
my
like
original movies
YouTube,
take
well
present
no, because you
first,
said you
so
were grandfathered in. Like, so could you still upload a fan film?
oh yeah,
No
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yep. My
Dude,
my my account's grandfathered from I don't know 2002 or something.
dude, that is freaking You know what that account must be worth?
YouTube, though, I tell you, so back then, 2002 to 2006, even seven, right? You upload one of those films, you'll get 10 to 40,000 views, or whatever.
Yeah,
Now that's naturally. Nowadays, a couple hundred, you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's so much stuff, and everybody's doing a fan film.
So
There was
YouTube doesn't pull down like fan films from other people though? Because I'd
say that
imagine
again?
like I mean they go crazy on like music and stuff, but they don't. Is there like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a level of artist, creativity or whatever you can take with the film?
Yeah, I mean they're actually getting real actors from like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and stuff to be
Really?
in these fan films. Yeah, Friday
Wow.
13th, the same thing. And they look like real movies, or at least pretty close. You know what I mean? As professional as they can get them. And
Do a lot of independent film people still like use YouTube as a way of delivery, like a delivery mechanism, or is there something?
yeah, they're all on there. They do the crowdfundings and stuff too, and then they upload it to YouTube eventually.
Yeah, I did marketing for crowdfunding for quite a few years, and I worked with quite a few films, helped them raise some money doing that for sure.
Yeah, these are fan films. Now, fan films are not really supposed to raise money. You're not supposed to profit off them. I don't know how they do it, but they do it on like GoFundMe or something where you don't have to technically like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
you know
That's
what I mean?
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't think of that. Huh.
So I guess there's a little way around it. I just do a fan film. I don't raise money for it. I just do it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So like, you said you're working on your third like that dream film now. Is that like the most current thing you're working on? Are you doing anything musically at all, or?
Musically, I teach lessons. I've been doing some music licensing stuff, so I make tracks for. I don't really know what it's gonna be. It could be a TV show, could be like
Yeah,
a
no, dude,
commercial.
it's funny you're mentioning that. I was just telling my middle son about, with musicians, a lot of money is being made now publishing. So,
Yeah, yep. A few companies I'm with have used my songs like that, and then or they just put it in the vault, that sort of thing. You
yeah,
make tracks for that, but there's certain opportunities come up. There's one company I'm with that they're like, we need a say pop rock rap track in 3 days for Nike or
right,
something like that. And you're like,
right.
I don't have anything. I'd have to make it in 3 days, and it's got to be commercially done,
But yeah, no, I hear you, dude.
mixed, mastered, works.
I heard Stevie Wonder has like a ton of songs on the go just for that purpose, where he's just like, oh yeah, you need that, boom, here you go, 50 grand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's handful. Like one company, I kind of give them my ideas that don't work out because I figured I'm never going to use them anyways. So there's like they released. If you look at my catalog on the side, they released. It's like movie kind of esque tracks and
Yeah, that
stuff.
makes sense.
They aren't
Makes
mixed
sense.
the best or that sort of thing, but they just licensed them, and then they tag my name. So
So I guess then do you do guitar lessons like online and stuff too, or was it more in person?
both, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I always say if anybody's interested, I can teach from anywhere in the world. So
Yeah, I mean thanks to technology these days, right?
yeah, I've taught somebody from like the UK or Texas or California or Florida.
So do you still play that Jackson guitar? Do you have any other metal guitars that you play?
I've sold every guitar that I've owned since I was, let's say, since 2019.
Oh man,
I swap it around because my playing style changes, and I'm always looking for,
that's funny.
especially guitars that sound, I don't want to say better, but in a way,
Oh,
plays
dude,
better,
trust
sounds
me.
better.
You're like, me or every other musician, like you're looking for, I call it tone chasing.
Yeah.
You just like I literally have a preset in my amp and it's called Tone Demon.
That's
Because
what you
you're
got to
just
do.
literally like tweaking it all the time. Because you're just like, no, it's not there yet.
Yep. Well, it's what helps is through the years I've been endorsed by some of these companies, and I get to try out some of this stuff. So
That's cool.
having a home recording studio, I've been through a lot of rack gear, pedals, guitars, and by now I kind of know what's crap and what's better.
I hear you. What's your current guitar then? And like if you're kind of swapping stuff out, did you find the one you've been looking for your current situation?
Yeah, I use the ESP LTDs, the EC 1000s, but I have the Evertune bridge ones, so I
That's
use those
cool.
now. And
Those
then
things sound like they're sick. I haven't
they're
played guitar with
solid.
one, but they sound ridiculous.
Solid. Then I have a Schecter Reaper, which was kind of a trade, and I end up really liking it. And I do almost all my recordings on it. It doesn't have active pickups, it has regular pickups on it, and
Hmm. What's
but
the
it's got
Reaper body style look like?
a Jackson.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
the
okay.
Jackson cut. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's still kind of a matte finish. The tuners are upside down on it, which at first I had to get used to. They're under the guitar.
Oh, it's got a reverse headstock.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah, yeah.
those are cool. And
Have you do you don't use Fluence pickups, do you?
no, I like EMGs or Fishman, really.
Yeah, yeah, that's what the Fishman are the Fluence pickups.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
one guitar here with them in there now. I like them.
that that's cool. What about
Um,
play? What kind of a rig do you play through?
it's changed. I'm was it a supported artist or something from Black Star? So I have a lot of
That's
their
cool.
stuff. Yeah. But practice amps, I have Marshall. I have a Yamaha one that they came out with that's really cool. That's kind of like a you can do a lot of things with it. I actually record with that a lot. Then I have a Rev head. So when I record, so I like to talk gear, I record 5 different sources for my guitar tracks. So when you hear
Damn.
like one guitar part, it's usually 5 quote unquote different amps at once.
Yeah, so you really like layer the different sounds on there, huh?
Yeah, because like, isn't that overkill? Well, I tell you, when the verses come up, I can take a source out, and you want to thin it out a little bit, or you want to give it a different sound.
Huh,
Well,
I get what
because
you're
I'm like, well,
saying.
the rev, I record right in the room. So I do what you're not supposed to, right? I record right in basically the control room here. And so the audio when I mix and stuff, it's actually playing back and you can hear a little bit through the microphone, but that's just a back source. I have isolation cab for the regular one. I have direct in with like the Tone X, the Black Star Amp 2. That's all completely dry. But I'm like, I needed that I don't know, it's kind of like the effect that you get when you play a venue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that turns out I got it's a 1970s like an SM58 that Freddie Mercury, that brand, that
No
style, that
kidding.
chrome one. So I have that on the amp with
That's cool.
some cat audio mics. So I have a Unidel. I think it's a 2 or 3 57, and then I'm endorsed by SE microphones. So that's my main. Like if I play out live or if I primarily record with a microphone, SE microphones. I
Hmm.
really like them, and Cat Audio. They go back and forth.
And what was that the other one?
CAD
Oh yeah,
audio.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
really
so how
budget
do you feel
friendly.
about like amp modeling?
I like it. Got to be careful. But I like it. They are not all
Well,
created
that's
equal.
that's why I was curious about the question. So I was like, oh, Black Star, like, oh, how do you? Because I don't think they're really messing around with that stuff, right?
No, they have a version 4 out now. I haven't tried that, but I've tried all the other ones. They're good. They're good. The amped pedal, I like the best because actually the pedal itself can power 100-watt speaker cabinet.
Dude, that's sick.
So it's basically an amp head and a pedal, and you can actually hook it up to your computer and load in whatever sound that you want. So it's both basically.
That's pretty freaking sick. Wow.
So
The I was gonna say, crap. Um, Ant modeling, Black Star. I'm trying to retrace my thoughts. Like, damn it. Just because that threw me off about that pedal. Like hearing about it, I was like, oh shit, that sounds pretty badass.
It's cool. So what I do when I record on one side, I'll I use all those multiple sources at once. Like the chorus would have like all of them in it basically, but like the verses might have that Black Star pedal, and then I might change certain things just in that pedal to affect, let's say, the bridge,
Right.
right? So you have five sources, but maybe you change one or two just for the bridge. So sonically, you're like, it's the same technically, but there's something a little different. So your
That's funny. It's kind of interesting to hear little tricks like that because I
ear
swear,
candy,
you know,
basically.
I'm totally blind, so I swear sometimes it's like, man, how is that verse kind of coming in like bigger sounding than like,
Yeah. It's
you
not
know,
always the same amp that's just turned up. It could be the same amp on a different setting too.
hmm. Oh, I know what I was gonna say about the Black Star. I have a overdrive pedal they make. I don't know if they make more than one, but this overdrive pedal is sick. I
Is
love
it
it.
the black one?
What's that?
Is it black?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same one too.
Yeah, yeah. That thing's pretty sick. I had a bass player friend of mine that was like he more played guitar than bass, but in the band we were in, he was playing bass and he's like, oh dude, you need to check out this. He's like, forget the tube screamer or whatever. He's like, check this out. And I hooked up my amp and I was like, sold.
Yeah, it's really good. I think there's a white version of that too.
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember the model name of it, but yeah, that thing's pretty sick. So when you gig out, do you bring like a combo amp? Do you bring a half stack? Like, what do you do if you're playing out?
I've done, I want to say almost everything over the years. I've brought just an amp, no pedals. I have played just with pedals. So like literally distortion pedal.
Yeah, and kind of go directly into the board or whatever.
Yeah, and I've done
Yeah.
like a Foztex kind of or Axe Effects kind of thing. And now because my songs have like wah, they have octave stuff. There's delays in certain sections, so I have pedals for that. But the way I have it set up now is the Black Star pedal because if I want to, right, if there's a cab at the venue, you can plug in there if you want to, or if not, you just use the out on that with the Tonex into it's a passive. They call it a mixer, but it's like a little passive thing. It has three channels on it, three
Oh
XLRs.
yeah. Is it like kind of like a direct box sort of?
Sorta, yeah. It's not a direct box, but you can put both sources in that pedal, and then so now you have literally two amps that you're playing, and you send that
Hmm.
direct. So
Hmm.
that sounds like a real amp on stage, let's say,
That's interesting. Yeah, like in the super late 90s, like in 99, I like I had the idea of like digitizing my band because I was like,
Yeah,
why don't we just like when we play live, the PA is gonna act like our home stereo speakers, and it's gonna almost sound like people are kind of like listening to the CD. So like we triggered my drummer's drum set like with early stuff like an Alesis DM5 or whatever.
yeah, those drum
And like
triggers.
I had a Rocktron Chameleon preamp, so I would just run my XLR out of that right into the board, and then the bass player is just going kind of straight into the board. We played a few shows that way. It was pretty interesting. The guys doing the sound were like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because I'd be like, "What do you? No, don't mic up my amp, dude. Just give me the XLR cable." He's like, "What?" And I was like,
Yeah, like don't EQ it or nothing.
"What? What's that?"
I'm like, don't EQ it or anything.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just give me that cable, like, and let me, and I just shoved it into my amp, and he was like, "Whoa, okay."
Yep.
But yeah, like they were a little taken back, but
Yeah, I mean that's forward thinking back then for all that stuff. It's
well, I could just see where it was going. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
I was
Was
trying to talk my drummer, even just playing an electronic drum set at that time, but they looked so stupid. Like
yeah, they
he
were
wasn't gonna do
horrible.
it. But I was just like, dude, you're gonna get this crazy, insane sound, and like not have to lug your giant drum set around. They're like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, in certain circumstances, like I would do national anthems for like basketball and like hockey teams, and I'm just like, what can I bring? I can't bring anything. You're not really allowed to set anything anywhere. So I had to go wireless with my guitar and then kind of put my guitar stuff somewhere that wasn't supposed to. So I
Huh.
just ended up, that's how I found out. I just ended up, I go, I'm just gonna do it with a pedal. So that's how I took like trying to think what I used. It wasn't the Black Star one. It was another one that had like settings modulated in it, but it had like XLRs out.
Okay.
I can't remember because I've been through like six of them trying to find a better sound source. But it was cool though, and it sounded great because you figure I'm using the arena's PA speakers. That is my amp, so that's why I
That's
like
pretty
that
sick.
idea. So I plugged in, pre-show. I played little Metallica riffs and all that stuff, and I'm like, I mean, how many times could you sit in a hockey arena and play guitar through their speakers? You know
Dude,
what I
I
mean?
hear you. I would totally would have been playing some Jump in the Fire, you know.
Oh yes, I played Four Horsemen and
Exactly, dude.
Sad but True.
Yeah, yeah, no, seriously, you rumble all the seats with that riff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. Were people like hanging out and stuff when you were jamming?
Just the people working there. They were
Oh,
just doing their
okay.
thing.
Were they like,
Yeah.
yeah, Metallica?
Yeah, I think one person did. So some people, because they're working, they're a little annoyed by any
Yeah,
noise.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think I upset the cheerleaders at one point because they're like, "We need the PA system,"
You're like,
because
no.
they practice the dance stuff with the songs, and
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I remember one time I was like, "Well, I need a sound check. I'm sorry." Mm.
One thing that we totally like brushed over, I mean, you did mention in passing, you went to Berkeley and like, did you actually graduate and all that? Not to sound whatever, but you know how.
Just the rock guitar certification. I did the Berkeley online. Yep.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay. That's
Because
cool.
we
That's
we had
cool
the house
telling.
fire, and I literally just had a computer, a guitar, and an Axe Effects unit, and webcam and that kind of stuff. So
That's
I was
interesting.
like, I have all this time on my hands because I was teaching lessons. I go, well, maybe it'd help me pick up a few teaching jobs.
That makes sense. That did it work?
Yeah, with one company they hired me, and then it's just I think it's just better for me when I teach on my own too to say that I have some sort of instead of just
Yeah,
experience, well, you have some sort of technical knowledge.
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, no, totally.
Because
That's
I'm
cool
more
though.
like you got to play with feeling too. Because I tell everyone, I go, you can learn all these scales. I go, but play that scale. And they play it. I go, that's not musical. I go, playing a scale, just the notes that they are, like a basic pentatonic, it's not musical. I go, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to make it musical. That's technique, structure, feeling, influence. So that's why I like to kind of
Yeah, I
focus
know
on that.
that's what's interesting, right, man? But like we've been given these like 12, 13 notes, whatever, however you want to count it. And like that's all we have, and yet we just have this like unlimited music,
Hmm.
and it's all about how each person interprets those notes on the instrument they're playing.
Yeah, yeah. If somehow we all play it and it feels different and it
Yeah.
sounds different. So it's like, and then you add pedals and then you have more variables,
Nah, no, totally.
which is cool.
Totally.
But yeah, I think my last two EPs I got more into, layering kind of like backing guitars of like octaves and like different things of like almost like a baritone type thing. Cause I
Do you
break
tune
these
down at all?
Yeah, like Break These Chains is one of the fan favorites. I worked with Brian from Daughtry. I met Daughtry, and
That's
then
cool.
I'm like, oh, I'm working with this dude. And I worked with the drummer too on a couple other songs, and he was the one that was kind of like, why don't we do this? So I used all of Daughtry's guitars too, which was sick.
That's cool.
Brian's guitars, and he was like, we're gonna play the same part. We're gonna play on a baritone electric guitar. I was like, I don't think I ever heard of that. And he goes, it's the same thing, but it sounds like Breaking Benjamin, or it sounds cool. I was like, all right, yeah. So we didn't drop C.
Oh
Yep, and
man,
then we
that's
used
better.
regular guitar for like lead stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No
Yep.
kidding. That's pretty cool.
I do like it, but what I do now is my guitars, I used to tune D standard and then switch guitars. And I'm like, well, I don't want to own 8 guitars anymore. So Digitech came out with this whammy pedal that
Oh
you
yeah.
can
Yep.
drop tune and up tune, and it sounds real. It's the only one that sounds real that you don't
So you
lose
can
like,
like legit have your guitar like regular tuning. You plug it through that Digitech pedal, and it you don't lose any kind of like tonal quality. It still sounds like the legit thing.
yep. You
No
lose
kidding.
maybe a tiny bit, but it's
Negligible.
yeah, I've used it on all the stuff I recorded so far too.
Interesting. That's cool.
And if you
That's
tune lower, like if you tune a D standard, your guitar has more bass and umph in it anyways because you just detuned it, and say you have like 10 or 11 gauge strings, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And then go up to E if you want. It's going to be a thicker E than it is on a E tuned
That's interesting.
10 gauge guitar,
Yeah,
that sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing.
I hear what you're saying. It gives the E a lot more oomph to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
But I admit right now, I just because I teach, I have all the guitars in E, and then I'll just go from there. I do miss the D
Interesting.
because D you can the strings are more like flubby. I'm gonna use
Yeah,
that word.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm doing. I'm glad you came on today, Frank. Did the interview. Like you're very inspiring for sure, and I imagine someone's gonna be encouraged by listening to you because like you've had your hands in all kinds of stuff, and like I said, you're an encouraging guy.
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate it. You having me on because it was kind of like I was like I got a message and I was like, who is this? But yeah, no, I love doing anything like this, and everyone's like, I don't claim to be an expert. I just know what I know, and I keep progressing, and I love guitar and I love sound, so
I
that's
hear you.
why I'm into mixing and recording, and you get better through it. Honestly, like recording my own stuff, gear, I've gotten to be a better guitarist through everything.
Yeah, no, I believe that for sure. Like even the mixing and mastering and stuff like that has an effect on your guitar playing for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I play totally different. It's so weird because I'm like I realized a long time ago you have to play a different way and you have to play tight if you want it to sound a certain way. Because I'm like, how are these records so tight and up front? It's the playing too,
Yeah,
a
no,
lot of it.
totally.
Because I've had to dumb down riffs where I'm like, that is awesome. When you play it and you're like, that sounds sick. And I played it and I'm like, that sounds just like jumbled garbage. So you just never know.
Yeah, dude. So, is there anything that you wanted to mention? Do you have like a website or like Instagram
Yeah, yeah,
or?
you can Google my name or go to frankpolangi.com. All my songs are on all the streaming platforms. The movies are on like Tubi and free on YouTube and those type places. So you can Google my name and find everything basically off my website too. There's
Yeah,
you know
well,
there's
that's good that you're Googleable then.
there's on-demand t-shirts and stuff like that too on my
That's
website, and
cool.
there's a double disc CD I will say on my website. It has my whole catalog of all original stuff plus some extra stuff up until these 2 new singles. So they aren't on it because I made it before it. But
Okay,
if you don't have anything, you'll have it all in 2 discs
that's cool.
if you still play CDs out there.
Yeah, dude,
But
that's a whole nother. It
but
took
I
me
autograph
years to
them,
find
so
a
just
CD
collect it for the
player.
autograph, I guess, or whatever you want.
Yeah, there you
I'll put your
go.
name on it.
There you go.
I've
Yeah.
done that a lot of
Again, thanks,
times.
Frank, so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And don't forget to embrace your storm. See ya.